How long was it before you found out the truth?
Up till now, I would say we don't know the total truth yet. We saw the CCTV. There was no need for him to die.
Do you think that racism is a problem in Scotland in general?
Yeah.
You do?
Because of this George Floyd issue, and also the younger children who were at my house the day before my brother died. Now they're all young teenagers now. This is home for them. Why should they be treated differently from anybody else?
As I've talked to so many black people the last few weeks, racism is very real here. Do you think they'll get to the bottom of it, or do you feel some kind of cover-up already taking place?
I feel there's a lot of cover-up taking place at the moment, but I'm just hoping and praying that the truth will come out. They will tell us exactly what happened, because that's all we're asking for. We just want to know why our brother had to die.
Father, I pray for Kadi and all the family, Lord, the tragedy and this travesty that they've gone through. Father, I pray that they would just know your peace and your comfort. In particular, Lord, I pray that this public inquiry will come through swiftly. I pray, Lord, that all truth would come out. Even if it's painful, Lord, I pray that that truth would come out and there will be justice for Sheku.
Hello.
Hey, Kadi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Sorry I'm a bit late.
No problem at all, no problem. Just appreciate you giving me some time today.
Thank you. Yeah.
And are you in Kirkcaldy? Is that where you are?
No, I live in Broxburn.
All right, okay.
Yeah, I moved from Kirkcaldy.
Okay. And how are you?
Not too bad, managing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's been a traumatic time of late, huh?
Indeed, yes. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you know much about Destiny Church at all.
Not really. As I said to I've forgotten his name now.
Buchan, probably. Is it Buchan reached out to you first of all?
Yeah. I've seen a branch in Edinburgh. I think I've been there once. I was invited to something there.
Okay. Well, we're very much a multiracial church.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly Destiny Glasgow and Destiny Edinburgh, more than half our congregation would be black. Mm-hmm. Both of those are large churches. And then we have many other churches and branches around the world, including Ghana and northern Nigeria and places like this. But obviously the events of the last few weeks, especially since George Floyd, has seriously traumatized our young black people in the church here. Yeah. But I think everybody was horrified by what they saw. The whole world is in shock. But then it seems like we have forgotten about your brother. And I wanted to take this opportunity to hear from you what's happened, what did happen, how are you guys feeling about it? What could we do as a church or churches? We've got lots of people around Scotland in particular. And obviously there's a deep desire to both understand what's happening and to be a part of the solution, if possible. So, Kadi, tell me a bit about Sheku. What was he like as a person?
Sheku was the youngest in our family. We are 3 girls, and he was the only boy. He's the youngest. So, like I said, he was our baby brother. We did everything for him. He was well loved in the family. He came over to the UK. He lived in London for a little while. Then he came up to Scotland to join me because I was living here at the time. And he quickly made friends because he was such a lovable man. He was well known in the area, in the community. He joined the youth group. He was just interacting with whoever he meets, and he was well liked among whoever he met. And everything was going well for him. He's got 2 boys.
How old are his boys now?
Now there's 7 and 5.
Gosh.
Mhm. So everything was going well for him. Things were heading in the right direction. He loved his family, his children. He would do anything for his children. And all of a sudden, he was suddenly taken away from us.
Gosh.
That was
What
very...
do you remember about that day?
That day, it was May 3rd, 2015. It was on a Sunday. The Saturday before that was my daughter's birthday. So we just had like a house party where we invited friends. That's what we usually do anyway. So he came along, he was there. We were all joking and laughing. He was helping me to serve food to the guests. You know, they were all joking and laughing with him. And then that night, I think there was a boxing match in America. You know, a famous boxer also in America the match was on, which was like maybe 2 in the morning, our own time. So, but anyway, I think it was after 10, one of his friends who I've known for years since he came to Scotland, you know, they usually come to the house and, you know, he's part of the family. Came to the house and then they said they are going to another friend's house to go and watch the boxing. So we all said goodbyes, and my other guests were saying, "Oh, are you leaving?" Because he was just making fun and everybody was enjoying his company. But when his friend came, you know, he said he had already made plans, so they are going to watch the boxing. And that was it. You know, the next day the Sunday at about, I think 3 in the afternoon or so, I had 2 plainclothes police officers came to my house to tell me he's passed away.
Oh, that must have been a huge shock.
That was really, really a big shock. The first thing, because I was so upset and devastated, my husband asked, what happened? Did he die in an accident? Because that's the first thing, because his friend was driving. So we said, was he an accident? Was he shot? What was he stabbed? And they said, no, we're looking for 2 guys. At first they said we are looking for 2 guys who are in connection with his death. Then they said again, a passerby found him in the line on the road and called for an ambulance. So from the minute they came to my house, they didn't tell me what happened straight away. Instead, they told me different stories, you know. Then my husband was asking several more questions because he had worked with the police before, so he knows, you know, what they're like. Because obviously I was devastated at the time. So he was asking questions and he said, who is your chief superintendent at the time? Then they said the name, and then my husband knew the guy because he had worked with him in the past. So my husband said, please tell him to come and explain to us properly exactly what happened to our brother and why he died, because we've just seen him a few hours ago. So what happened? So that very day, you know, I had so many people from the park going in and out of my house, you know, coming in, asking questions and going back out and coming in, telling us this and that. You know, so stories were not adding up. And very soon I had to phone most of the people who were there the day before, because we are all mostly from Sierra Leone and other parts of Africa, you know. So they all came to the house. The house was packed full again. Then suddenly the chief superintendent came to the house. So when he came, he wanted to speak to us in private, and my husband said, no, you have to come in where everybody's seated. We're all family, just say what happened. So he came along and then he said, Sheku was involved in he resisted arrest, and then batons were used, CS spray were used, and because he was wielding a machete, and then we were like, what, a machete? Then he said, no, maybe it might be a knife, maybe it might be a blade, you know. So he wasn't even certain about what he was even telling us in the first place. So he gave his story, and then he said, so during that time, he became unconscious and he died. That's what he told us.
Gosh.
And then he said, but we are looking more into it, and he will let us know what's what, but let's just keep it in the four corners of this wall. Then he left. So suddenly he left. There was one of these young teenagers at the time, quickly went on their phone, so then she saw a headline saying there was a terrorist attack in the area, and a Black man had died. Then we were so upset, because how can now you've told us these lies, and now you're saying again, my brother is a terrorist, in a very quiet residential area, and you're saying he had a knife, and no knife was found on him when they met him. Suddenly, 2 police officers got him on the ground, handcuffed and leg restrained. And all of a sudden, 9 police officers were on top of him until he took his last breath, So since then, the struggle started.
And that's 5 years now, is it?
5 years now, no answer. Last year, we had the Crown, the head of the Crown Office, Mr. Wolf, decided not to prosecute any police officers. So that was it. But prior to that, we had met with him, and he said he will keep us all informed on how progress is going. But when he made his decision, I found out through the newspapers. The papers came out, people phoned me, that's how I knew that his decision has been made. So we're very upset again about that. And we had a meeting with him after that, and he said, yes, that's his decision. His police didn't do anything, there was no reason for him to prosecute any police officers. In other words, blaming my own brother for his own death, which was really upsetting again. So thanks to our lawyer, we've got, he kept it going, and, we were granted the public inquiry. So that's the stage we're at now at the moment. We're just waiting for that to start, but we have been granted the public inquiry.
How long was it before you found out what happened? The police weren't forthcoming at the beginning. How long was it before you found out the truth, or as much of the truth as you could?
Well, up till now, I would say we don't know the total truth yet.
Gosh.
But as time went on, we saw the CCTV, and what we saw, we were like, there was no need for him to die. He was really, really manhandled. That's how he ended up dying. There was no need for him to die, because you had already handcuffed him. He was still alive. Where was he gonna go? And he arrived in the hospital handcuffed and leg restrained on. And that's the same hospital I used to work in.
Gosh, you were a nurse, Kadi, were you?
Yeah.
That is just awful. And from what would you say has been the response of the police from that point to this? Have they become more open, or more closed, or more helpful, or?
Nothing at all. In fact, they took 32 days to even give a statement. How is that even legal? If somebody commits a crime, you don't have 32 days to give a statement, So they had the privilege to do that. We feel that they were, spoon-fed, or, told what to say or do, they had all that privilege on their side, and we didn't.
And have they offered any kind of support or assistance since, or not?
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing. We've had absolutely no support from them. Instead, we've had, I would say, negative comments made against my lawyer. from the Scottish Police Federation. They quickly came out saying negative comments, and even recently again, they came out again with negative comments, which is very hurtful to me and the rest of my family.
And what was finally diagnosed as the cause of death?
Well, on his death certificate, they mentioned that he took some drugs and he suffered from asphyxia as well, you know. So
do you think it's a very similar case to George Floyd in that he died under police hands?
Yes, we feel it's a similar situation. He died in police custody. Whether he was under the influence, you know, there was no reason for him to die. I'm a staff nurse myself. I've seen the way police have handled people who are high on drugs and alcohol. They give them respect, they treat them with dignity. So why did they not do that to my brother? That's my question to them. Why did they not do that to my brother? Why did he have to undergo such brutal attack where batons were used, CS sprays were used, you know? It was just not on. He ended up with so many injuries, broken bones, and you know, he was badly beaten, I would say, you know. So why did they have to do that when within a short period of time they had already handcuffed him?
And do you think it was racially motivated?
I feel it was racially motivated because before even they met him, they had a call that it was a racial attack. And as we all know, when you say racial attack, obviously it's they associated with ethnic groups, ethnic people. So they already came in with that. But when they met him, he had no knife on him. He was just, they saw that he was not himself, because according to them, they said he was not responding to their commands. So clearly, you'll understand that he's not himself. And these are things that they deal with on a regular basis, but they gave him no duty of care. They just went on him heavy-handed because they escalated the system, they escalated the situation instead of de-escalating it.
And Kadi, have you had Sheku experienced racial issues before all of that? Have you experienced racism in Scotland yourself?
For me personally, it's just few comments here and there, but you know, you just put it behind you and move on. Nothing, I've never experienced any physical or anything, but just comments here and there. Yes, I've had that before. But for my brother, he's never said to me anything serious that, you know, something happened, anything serious. I don't know. He's never said anything to me about that. But I know he had so many white friends. I have so many white friends, you know. We have so many white people, young and old, who love us the same way we love them too. So.
And I read a statement that you'd made that you'd encouraged him or brought him up to Scotland from London because you thought it would be safer here.
Yeah, because I came here to do my nursing studies, and I loved the place. I loved it when I came. It was lovely, you know, it was nice and quiet, and you know, I convinced him to come. He didn't want to come, but I said, it's a nice place, you know, you do what you have to do. There's no hustle or bustle here. Everything goes at an easy pace. You know, it'll be a nice place for you to develop your life. You know, little did I know it was going to be cut short.
That is so, so sad. Mm-hmm. And do you think that racism is a problem in Scotland in general?
Yeah.
You do?
Because of this George Floyd issue, and also the younger children who were at my house, the day before my brother died. Now they're all young teenagers now. They have been speaking out. They have been saying the racial things they've been experiencing since a younger age, because I feel maybe now it's more making sense to them now. Even when my brother died, I didn't realize that it had that effect on them. I thought maybe, you know, they were young children, they didn't really understand. But the way they have risen up now, especially with the last protest in Edinburgh and Glasgow, they have really risen up and stood up for justice, because this is the place they know. This is where most of them were born or grew up from, or came here from very, very early age. So this is where they know, you know. Why should they be, this is home for them, you know. Why should they be treated differently from anybody else? You know, they've got as much rights as anybody else to walk freely in the street and do anything freely without any fear.
And when is the public inquiry taking place, Kadi?
No date has been set yet. You know, I do understand with the pandemic and everything, but no date has been set yet. But we are hoping that it wouldn't take years, because it's been 5 years now. Nothing has been done. So we just hope it wouldn't take long.
And do you think they'll get to the bottom of things? Will all the necessary reports and documents and people be interviewed? Do you think they'll get to the bottom of it, or do you feel some kind of cover-up already taking place?
I feel there's a lot of cover-up taking place at the moment, but I'm just hoping and praying that the truth will come out. They will tell us exactly what happened, because that's all we're asking for. We just want to know why our brother had to die, so we could have, you know, we could move on a bit, you know. But at this point in time, it's like you're going forward and backwards with no closure.
Right. And where will that public inquiry take place? Do you know?
No, nothing has been set yet.
And if people want to follow it closely, where can they go to find information? And
well, there's a Justice for Sheku campaign page on Facebook, and there's a Twitter page as well. You know, people can go there, and
right.
Information will be there.
And what would you like to see change, either in the Scottish Police Force or in Scotland in general?
I just want Scotland to recognize that we are Black people, but we are not bad people. We should be given the same rights like anybody else. We shouldn't be discriminated against. We just want to feel part of the community and part of society. That's what I just hope these changes will happen, and not to, for police officers not to attack Black people in a brutal way, you know.
And what would you say, because we're going to use this interview in lots of different places, and there'll be a lot of young people in particular who are very interested to hear what you have to say. What would you say to them who are concerned at the minute? And what would you say from the very tragic and sad experience that you've painfully gone through? What would you say to them?
I just want to say to the young people, you know, maybe some of them have experienced this, and some sort of racial incidents, I don't know, but just to keep educating people as well, to let them know that yes, we're Black, but we are all the same. We have the same rights like you. You know, Jesus died for us all. You know, he didn't die for white people and left Black people. He didn't die for Indians and not white people. No, he died for all of us to save us. So we are all one. We are all the same. We are all one. You know, so it's just to teach their friends that we are the same. We are loving people. We are not what they think we are. We've got the same rights. We are smart just like them. So we shouldn't be discriminated against.
And Is there anything in particular that you think the church and the churches in general could do at this time?
Well, I've been involved in some churches around in Kirkcaldy in particular, because that's where I used to live. And a lot of them have been praying for us, you know, and still are praying and reaching out to me, asking, especially when this came up again, some have been reaching out to me again, asking, how am I doing? And which meant a lot, and it means a lot to us, you know. So we just want you to carry on with, you know, just remembering us in your prayers. And if this helps to educate people, the young and old, that will be a blessing as well.
We're obviously, I mean, it's almost impossible to understand what you've all gone through. And many of us find it unbelievable that it could happen here. But as I've talked to so many black people the last few weeks, racism is very real here. And for some of them, they face it on a daily basis. And so our prayers are with you and our thoughts are with you. You've also opened a crowdfunding page, is that right?
Yes, yes.
And where would they find that if people wanted to support and donate?
It's actually Crowd Justice page. So that's there, and we want people to donate because, like I said, our lawyer, Mr. Ama Anwar, has worked tirelessly for this case. There are times I had given up, but he has always believed, and he has worked extremely hard to get to where we are. Because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have been where we are today, you know. So we really need help with the justice side for us to move on, and hopefully we'll get the truth and changes will happen in Scotland, which will benefit the rest of us.
And what has been the response from the politicians in Scotland? Has there been some support or?
Well, we have some, I think majority of them have been supporting, you know, when we put out for the public inquiry, most of them supported that, for that to be granted. So I think maybe that's why it was granted. I'm not sure, but majority of them have been in favor of, once they finally knew the truth, well, part of it that he wasn't a terrorist, because when on the day it happened, the how do you call it, the people in Kirkcaldy, the member of parliament who are based in the Kirkcaldy area, the reporters told them that it was a terrorist attack and the police had to act. So they were in favor of the police, thanking them for the way they handled it and things like that. But when they realized that that was not the case, they were lied to, they came out again. Some of them reached out to us, you know, they apologized for what they had said, because that was the information they were given at the time. And ever since, they have been on our side. Whatever campaign or whatever is going on, they've always been there for us.
That's great to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And Kadi, would you be willing to come at some point when all this lockdown has lifted and share your story with some folks, especially the young people here? And
of course, yeah, if it makes a change to anybody, I'm happy to be there.
I really appreciate that, because sometimes when you've gone through such a trauma and so much pain, it's great to think that something good can come from that when someone suffered in such a way. And as a church, we'll also make a donation onto that Crowd Justice page this week.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Really appreciate your time today. Can I pray with you? Would you let me pray with you?
Yes.
Father, I pray for Kadi and all the family, Lord, the tragedy and this travesty that they've gone through. Father, I pray that they would just know your peace and your comfort. In particular, Lord, I pray that this public inquiry will come through swiftly. I pray, Lord, that all truth would come out. even if it's painful, Lord, I pray that that truth would come out and there will be justice for Sheku. Lord, we pray for his kids, his boys, that you would just look after them, protect them. I pray, God, that they'll grow up proud of their dad, proud of who they are, and that your grace would be on them all as a family. Lord, I just pray you bless Kadi in particular. She's speaking out and sharing and telling. I pray, Lord, that you give her increasing confidence and great favor. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.